Today we're going to be reacting to Spartans that betrayed the UNSC from the YouTube channel, the Halo Follower. So let's get into it.
In Halo lore, the UNSC kidnapped children, brainwashed, and trained them against their consent for, ultimately, the greater good. But there are a few examples where Spartans not only directly disobeyed their superiors, but fought back and for once, pursued their own agenda. Today, we're going to be discussing the Spartans that betrayed the UNSC. It's going to be a fun one, guys. Let's get into it. In Halo lore, there are a few cases where Spartans full-on betrayed the UNSC, and the highlight isn't actually with Master Chief.
Sierra 117 to Infinity. Argent Moon scuttled. I've reassigned Blue Team. Destination Meridian. Potential contact from Cortana.
Negative 117. Another team is already being prepped to deal with her.
What the hell?
You're to return to Infinity immediately.
Negative Infinity. I don't like it.
While Master Chief, yes, did go against orders in the UNSC, the AWOL factor was, well, overall underwhelming to many, and was based on a lot of misunderstandings and assumptions. So was it really him betraying? But while Dr. Halsey and the UNSC's intentions were, in a perspective coming from a good place, such as defeating the rebels and then fighting back against the UNSC that threatened humanity, thus making these Spartans and kidnapping children, well, there are a handful of times that Spartans, other than the one with Chief, turned on the UNSC and actually sought revenge, or just wanted to get away, because, of course, most Spartans, such as the Twos, did not volunteer. They didn't really want to be a part of this. Of course, after some brainwashing and convincing, some did, but ultimately, they were taken by their families. One of the most notable examples of betrayal is that of Daisy 023, whom was depicted in Halo Legends Homecoming, an entire 23-minute or so episode in Halo Legends. A few weeks after the augmentations, Daisy and 4 other Spartan 2s turned against the UNSC, holding them at gunpoint, including Dr. Halsey, to escape the Spartan program. Dr. Halsey let them go, and they fled Reach as stowaways, hoping to return to where they came from, like to see their parents. By the time that they betrayed the UNSC and left, they had already been in intense Spartan brainwashing and intense training. The UNSC aggressively seeked out these lost Spartans, as potentially billions of dollars and years of time had been sunk into these soldiers that were intended and greatly needed to fend off against the alien forces known as the Covenant. Daisy successfully made it to her home and encountered her surviving Flash clone, because when the UNSC originally adopted children, they would replace them with clones that were meant to die only a week or two after. Daisy left, but later the clone did kill herself, and the original Daisy Spartan fell on the line of duty helping out some Marines to needler spikes.
Aww.
The next big example here is Soren 066, whom was a candidate for the Spartan 2 program, but was gravely disfigured by the augmentation procedures. The augmentation procedure, if you don't know, was one of the later steps for trained boys and girls to become quite literally super soldiers, right? Tons of abilities, much stronger, all that good jazz. However, Soren, along with others, quite simply were not the right fit and strong enough for the intense and dangerous procedures and chemicals pumped into their body. Soren was born on Dwarka in 2511. When he was 6 years old, Soren's mother became very ill, and his stepfather refused to take her to the doctor because he was running an illegal farm beyond the limits for authorized settlement. By the time he realized, the woman was deadly sick, and it was too late, and she passed away.
Aww.
Now, the stepfather, refusing to accept this, kept his mother's body locked away in a room. Soren stole the key from his stepfather on a night while he was drunk and found the body. Blaming his stepfather for all this, Soren grabbed a knife and stabbed him in the neck. However, the stepfather did survive, and Soren ran away into the woods. Later, he came to see his stepfather was also dying of the same sickness, where he just let him die, as he did to his mother. Unlike most children who were kidnapped, and arguably I would say is probably one of the most interesting things about Soren's story, is when Dr. Halsey found him as a potential candidate, he was living by himself, and he actually willingly went with Dr. Halsey and Jacob Keyes to join the Spartan program experiment. So there was no Flash clone, there was no kidnapping. He said, sure, take me with you.
Aw.
After training, the augmentation process began where he had a night fright, panicked, and fought back against the doctors and attempted to escape, where he was stopped by Mendez and the UNSC Marines shot him with tranquilizer darts. 3 months later, he awoke, where he found his body was grossly deformed and mutated from the augmentations. However, he had the upper torso strength of any other Spartan, so the augmentation did do its job in some areas of his body. But like other deformed Spartans, he was assigned a desk duty job, since active service duty just wasn't feasible due to his unique physique and deformed hands. Although he was assured that he would find a better job than paper pushing for the UNSC, his temporary job became more of a permanent one as time went on, and he slowly began to resent the UNSC and found his views shifting slowly and gradually to that of the rebels and the insurrectionists. Parch was a UNSC technician on Reach that was also becoming an insurrectionist, and he decided to defect along with Soren, and after several months of hinting, they finally came up with a good, solid plan, and that is when they decided that they would need a souvenir for their cause. They broke into a geological lab, opened a cabinet, but were caught by Spartan Randall. Soren attacked Randall, but Parch shot him with a tranquilizer shot. So Parch and Soren escaped among a longsword fighter and had almost escaped the planet, but were shot down into the forest below. Later, Mendez and the Marines found the wreckage, and there wasn't much left, but they did find Parch's burned body. However, Soren was nowhere to be seen. Dr. Halsey told Mendez that she believed Soren had survived the crash, but due to his upbringing and his experience in the woods, Soren would never be found unless he wanted to be found. So they gave up the search with a claim that Soren was no threat, not a traitor, but a lost soul. Without his body, Soren was officially declared missing in action. So those are a couple big examples of Spartans defecting against the UNSC, and I'm sure that there's a few other examples out there. So
that was very interesting. Now, we knew about Soren because he was in the Halo TV show, and I also watched something about Soren unintentionally when the TV show was going on, and when Soren was brought up in the show. I did watch something that Halo Lore reaction video of mine discussing Soren, and I didn't even mean for that to happen, but it worked out. But so I knew everything about Soren. I didn't know that they got shot down, that the ship got shot down, but I did know basically the beginning is his dad and his mom and all that. But I didn't know that about Daisy. That was pretty cool. Okay, everybody, that is it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, then be sure to smash the like button because that'll help the channel tremendously. Comment down below what you guys think of this video, and be sure to subscribe if you guys haven't already, and hit the bell icon to get notified whenever I post videos so you do not miss any more reaction videos or me playing any more of Resident Evil 7. Hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye, everybody. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Spiggs Gaming, and today I'm going to be reacting to another Halo Lore video. What happens when Spartans die?
The legend that Spartans never die, or they're just simply missing in action, is a really cool phrase, but we all know it's untrue. Many Spartans have been killed in action. So what happens when they die? What happens to fallen Spartans? Do they get funerals, and how are they? So today we're going to tackle this topic. Let's get into it. The ancient Greek Spartans were some of the best warriors that the world had ever seen by its time, but despite this, they still died on the battlefield in large quantities. Although Spartan law towards death and how to deal with these kind of individuals dying wasn't as badass or impressive as somebody may first think. In many cases, if a Spartan died on the battlefield, they would simply just be buried right there on the spot, and this was due to the impractical nature of lugging around a dead body to other grave sites, or hundreds of miles back to their homeland. Now, if a Greek Spartan managed to die of natural causes, let's say in the comfort of their homes, well, then they would simply be buried just like any other person, and typically there was just no special service for these elite warriors in their funerals. Now, the Halo Spartans, inspired by these warriors, well, their deaths and or funerals were dealt with in a slightly different way.
Didn't think anyone survived the Gothy, sir. Spartans never died, George. They're just missing in action.
First off, let's talk
What was that
about
from?
missing in action defection reports that were very common throughout the war with the Covenant and the Human Covenant War. Now, you might know by now that this was solely to keep morale high and place those Spartans up as demigods of sorts. So they would never say that a Spartan died, instead they would just say they're missing in action. Spartans don't die, they're just missing in action, right? But this was very essential to giving humanity any little bit of positivity and hope, and that was the sole purpose of doing this with fallen Spartans. But now that chapter is complete, and it's finished. The Covenant-Human War has ended with humanity winning, and more information regarding Spartan deaths are slowly coming out. If a Spartan was to be severely killed in a hostile, overwhelmed location, sometimes their fusion core powering the suit would be detonated, causing basically a mini atomic bomb of sorts. Now, there's only a handful of reports of this actually happening, but explosive and fiery deaths did occur. Now, the neat thing about Spartans in a made-up sci-fi world such as Halo is that medical and technological advances can do some very awesome things, especially when you're talking about a multi-billion-dollar suit of armor on a superhuman. For example, Blue Team member Linda, along with many other Spartan 2s, actually have the ability to enter a type of stasis before dying and somehow still hold on to life just long enough to eventually be revived. But how is this possible? Well, of course, the Spartan armor. The Mjolnir armor is as mysterious as the mythological hammer that the name is inspired from. Deep within the inner workings of the armor, there are some special instruments, some special technology that can place the nearly dead human in the Spartan suit into a state of hibernation and preservation. Severe life-ending injuries were able to be halted for extended periods of time, weeks even, until medical assistance could be obtained. For all intents and purposes, though, these Spartans, at a time, were in fact dead, but through the power of the Mjolnir armor and other means, they were able to be brought back to the world of the living, and even get back into the battlefield not much longer after being revived. In Halo Fall of Reach, the animation and also the book, John and other Spartan trainees were at a military funeral aboard the Atlas, where almost half of them just died from the dangerous augmentations that made the Spartans so powerful, besides the Spartan armor. Flags have been laid over the capsules that which had the fallen Spartan bodies in them, and the officer spoke, "We shall remember our dead," and then said, "We commit the bodies of our fallen to space." The capsules would then be fired and shot off to unknown space. And that was their way of honoring fallen Spartans. Now, the most lore-rich piece of content involving Spartans dying is Halo Reach, which was all about the ending of Reach and also the Spartan 2 Noble Team. Most notably, we have Spartan 6 dying at the end, fighting to the bitter end, but eventually meeting his fate and dying by the hands of the Covenant. Now, there may be some information and lore regarding how the UNSC and ONI have honored Noble 6 and Noble Team, but I just couldn't find it. But due to the secretive and criminal nature of these Spartans, however, it's unclear in my research whether Spartan funerals were or will ever come to the public eye. The context of each Spartan does matter during the Halo timeline when it comes to a proper funeral and military honor, plus with how secretive, for example, ONI is, it's likely that Spartans involved with ONI get very exclusive secret funerals, if any at all. More well-known Spartans, such as the Master Chief, would undoubtedly get some more inclusive military funerals, something much more public and something much more inclusive with the rest of the military and, low-ranking soldiers, for example. But with the lack of family, friends, and a real life, a funeral isn't something guaranteed by any Spartan, although the story might be different with Spartan Force, but that's a whole nother subject here. The Spartan 4 program was crafted after the Human Covenant War, so the politics, ethics, and information was naturally very different everywhere. Instead of Spartans being coerced into a life of being a Spartan, well, there was more wiggle room, like allowing other branches to serve as Spartans, like Buck from Halo 3 ODST, and then
Halo 4
as a Spartan in Halo 5. In addition to this, there was public iteration of the Spartan 4 program, making it much less secretive, much more public, and with the lack of a war on the military's back, things could finally be, I speculate, much more proper. But by the end of it, after thinking about the subject for quite some time, in the Halo lore, I don't think humanity as a whole will ever grasp all that the Spartans have sacrificed. I don't think they will ever appreciate them as much as they should be thanked. An entire life dedicated and eventually dying to saving humanity, that's a big sacrifice, and I don't think they will ever really see that. I think Dr. Halsey says it best at the end of Halo Reach as far as giving thanks and honor, as she says here.
Our victory, your victory, was so close. I wish you could have lived to see it. But you belong to Reach. Your body, your armor, all burned and turned to glass. Everything. Except your courage. That you gave to us. And with it, we can rebuild.
There has been countless funerals without a doubt not discovered in accessible lore, but another big one is Halo 3, Lord Hood honoring fallen soldiers in general, which you could say include the nameless Spartan warriors that weren't given a proper funeral or gratitude for their sacrifices.
For us, the storm has passed. The war is over. But let us never forget those who journeyed into the howling dark and did not return. For their decision required courage beyond measure, sacrifice, and unshakable conviction that their fight, our fight,
I love this game so much.
was elsewhere. As we start to rebuild, this hillside will remain barren, a memorial to heroes fallen. They ennobled all of us.
Spartans never die. They're only missing in action.
So yeah, I kind of agree. Spartans never die. They're just missing in action. And when I corrected him and said Halo 4, it's because he said Buck from Halo 3 ODST, but it showed Spartan Thorn from Halo 4 Spartan Ops, and I got the two mixed up. But yeah, I mean, I feel like if Chief died, which I think is what they're kind of leading into, just a little bit, I think everybody else in the UNSC would, like, it would be a bigger deal if it was Chief, because he is perceived as, you know, as hope for everybody, and, you know, he is like the poster guy for Spartans. So I kind of feel like that. I kind of agree with the guy about how if Chief died, it would be a bigger deal. And yeah, I mean, we saw plenty of Spartans die, especially in Reach. I'm still not over all of them, but I think the one that was like the saddest to me was I cannot remember his name. I am terrible with names, but it's the guy that like picks you up and is like, tell me to make it count. You know, like that one kind of hurts. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Spiggs Gaming, and today I'm going to be reacting to another Halo lore video with the Marine that almost defeated the Flood.
Hey guys, welcome back. Today I want to take a short break from the only videos to talk about a truly horrifying piece of Halo lore. The tale of an extraordinary Marine, a reclaimer who almost made it through one of the most hated places in the galaxy, with nothing more than his 8-gauge shotgun and his badass leatherneck resilience. This is the untold legend of Staff Sergeant Marvin Mabuto.
Okay.
We all know the horrors of the library, unless of course you're like me, a sadistic fucker who actually enjoys it, but realistically it's an aptly named, dark, vast, boring, repetitive facility used for storing ancient knowledge.
Yep.
Except instead of storing books and ancient tomes, it stores the Flood. As we well know, Chief's time there was not exactly fun to say the least for Chief or the player. Shortly after the Flood were released from Alpha Halo by the Covenant, 243 Guilty Spark teleported Chief to the library in a hurry to fetch the Index, which he was then going to use to defeat the Parasite. But what if I told you that Chief almost wasn't taken to the library? What if I told you that one brave Marine was taken there before Chief.
Ooh.
As Chief worked his way through the library, being constantly annoyed by the onslaught of flood from all directions, and also from Guilty Spark repeatedly self-proclaiming himself as a genius, he left a trail of bodies in his wake. The facility was nothing more than metal, empty shells, and infected corpses. However, as Chief proceeded deeper into the library, he came across a corpse that stood out from the rest. A human corpse, an uninfected human corpse. Granted, it was defiled far past the point of recognition, but the armour the remains were clad in, along with the hundreds of empty shells surrounding it, signified it was definitely a human. Chief reached down and grabbed the dog tags hidden among the guts, and learned that the body was that of Staff Sergeant Marvin Mabuto. Guilty Spark then chimed in, revealing that this wasn't the first time he'd taken a reclaimer through the library. When the Covenant first released the Flood from containment, Spark needed a reclaimer to get the index so he could stop them, and he needed one fast. He looked all over the ring before finding a single Marine on the other side of it, split from his squad, wandering aimlessly round a foreigner structure. He then teleported this extremely unlucky soldier to the exact same starting location as Chief, with the exact same goal: retrieving the index, of course, without actually knowing what it does.
Holy
Just
crud.
a word of advice real quick, if you ever get randomly teleported by a floating cocky eyeball, never actually retrieve what it's telling you to retrieve, just trust me, it doesn't tend to end well. However, sadly, Marvin had clearly failed his task. As noted by Guilty Spark, his combat skin proved even less suitable than Chief's at stopping the flood, which isn't exactly a shock given how many open areas the combat evolved marine armor has. I mean, it's not too bad when bullets are flying at you, but when an infection form is trying to latch onto your neck, yeah, it's really not that great. That said though, how far Mabuto had made it through the hellhole of the facility actually genuinely shocked Chief. Even with his Spartan augmentations and armor replacements, he was near the end of his endurance. He was getting really tired, and Staff Sergeant Mabuto had managed to get this far with neither of those perks. Before leaving to retrieve the index, Chief left what remained of Marvin's corpse with some parting words. "I didn't know you, Sarge, but I sure as hell wish I had. You must have been one hardcore son of a bitch." Mabuto might have gone down terrified, in one of the vilest ways possible, but having Master Chief call you a hardcore son of a bitch is one hell of a bittersweet end to your life. Rest in peace, Sarge. You sure as hell made it further than most people did.
It was intriguing, and I think I saw that body there. Like, I don't know if like it was actually like in the game, but I feel like I did see it, or at least I saw like handguns and like a med kit there, which was really really good. And I haven't played that game in a long time. I haven't even played that one level in a long time. It's been a few years since I've played it. And that is really cool. And, you know, yeah, it's like you said, like, don't, if a talking eyeball tells you, hey, like, teleports you, and then it's like, hey, go get this. Oh, hey, watch out, there's flood over there. No, don't do that. It's not a good thing to do. And Chief saying that to him in the book, like, that's awesome.